songs coming up.
Hey, good morning, Hope City. Good to have you guys here. It feels good to be in the house of the Lord, doesn't it? Man, this is crazy. This is our 13th week in this series, Upside Down Kingdom. And for me, it's one of those things where, the people that know this stuff, and I'm not one of them because I don't follow the rules, but the people that know this stuff say that you're not supposed to do a series longer than 6 weeks. But man, I've been having so much fun in this series that I don't care because this is good. It's God's word, right? And we're in this series, we're talking about the upside down kingdom. And how many of you know that God's kingdom doesn't make logical sense to everybody, right? Matter of fact, the Apostle Paul says that it's foolishness. But to those who are being saved, it's the power of God. Amen? Man, I wish you guys would get excited this morning because I feel the Spirit of God here and I'm ready to preach and I need your help. Amen? All right. So let me just explain because this is our final week in this series. And I wanted to just wrap it up with kind of the theme of the upside down kingdom. And if you're a Christian, how many of you know there's a difference between Christians and followers of Jesus? Did you know that? Okay, now, because what Christian can mean for some people is it's kind of like what team you're rooting for, right? Like I'm a St. Louis Cardinal fan, right? Some of you didn't know that, and you're shocked today. I'm still an Orioles fan, so don't worry. I'm even bigger Ravens fan, so don't worry. But in 1982, I got hooked on the St. Louis Cardinals when we won the World Series for the first time, growing up in St. Louis. And so ever since then, if you catch me summer, winter, spring, fall, I'm wearing St. Louis Cardinals something because I'm a huge fan. I don't ever play on the team, but I love them, right? Now, there are certain people who would identify themselves as Christians. They're not really a part of the team. They don't really play. They don't really do anything, but they really root for the Christians, and they hope the Christians win, right? Now, then there are people who follow Jesus. Now, let me just say that first category is a cultural construct. It's not a biblical construct. There is no fan base for Jesus. There is only followers of Jesus, right? And so if we're with Jesus, we're all in. There's no kind of riding the fence. I love the old saying that says, there is no riding the fence in Christianity because the devil owns the fence, okay? You can't ride the fence. You have to go all in with Jesus. It's interesting because around the world, no other Christians really believe that there's such thing as lukewarm because they know that when they go all in with their faith, that it's life and death. There are literally Christians around the world being martyred because they've said, I follow Jesus. There are people that have been disowned by their families because they follow Jesus. It's all in. I was talking to somebody this week about the fact that, in my marriage relationship, Mary and I have been married for a lot of years, and we're more in love today than we've ever been. But she gets 100% of my affection and my romantic attention. There is nobody else. There's no side hustle. There is nothing else. I don't want anything but her. And I'm telling you right now that if I were online checking out porn, if I were dating girls on the side, it would demonstrate something very clear to my wife. And it would be a game off prospect. Right? Jesus does not want to be your side honey. He is the object of our affection. We are called the bride of Christ. It is all in, all or nothing, nothing more, nothing less. Amen? So when we talk about this idea of loving and following Jesus, there's a central ethic that undergirds the whole thing. There's an ethic that undergirds this upside down kingdom, and it's love. If you do not fall in love with Jesus, you have nothing. It's not going to register for you. It's not going to make sense to you. I can't talk you into it. I can't argue for it. I can't build a logical case for it. If you don't love and want Jesus, you've got nothing. He's the point. I've talked about before, man, there are people that say, how could a loving God send people to hell? I would say, how could a loving God bring people to an eternity that's focused on loving and adoring Him forever? How could a loving God do that to people who have spent their whole life saying, I reject you, I don't want you, I want everything but you? How could a loving God bring those people to a heaven that is designed around Him? So as we dig into this thing, man, you go to Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 22. If you've got your Bible, turn to Matthew 22, 37 through 40. Jesus, again, in his upside down kingdom, he's kind of rewritten the rules, and he's turned upside down the ideas that people have about what it means to live in the kingdom. And so he gives these laws. Matter of fact, there's a group of Pharisees and religious leaders that have gathered around Jesus, and they're trying to trick him. They're trying to trip him up. And so they say to Jesus, hey, what is the greatest commandment? Right? And they're just kind of like, aha, we got him now. This is the moment. And Jesus answers. In verse 37, he says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, not some of your heart, not your leftover heart, not part of your heart, with all your heart, with all your soul. That's your mind, will, and emotions, right? With all of your mind, will, and emotions. Love Him. And all of your mind. Right here. You've got to make that decision. I'm going to love Jesus. Whatever the cost, I'm going to love Jesus. And so he's connected all of these pieces. It's an all-in prospect. And he says, a second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. It's interesting because in the original language, there's not so much differentiation between these two ideas, right? The way that it would be better interpreted is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor is yourself, right? So see how that's a connected thought? It's like if you've got a quarter and you've got two sides of the quarter, right? It's still a quarter, but it has two sides that represent different aspects, right? And so with love, there's two sides that represent different aspects. God is giving us this kind of vertical idea of what it means to relate to Him, and then this horizontal view of what it means to love everybody else. And He says, all of the law and the prophets hang on these two things. Well, if you start to go through the law, right? Everything in the law is, right? Don't have any other gods before me. If you love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, you won't have any gods before Him, right? Don't take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Well, I wouldn't do that if I love God, right? Thou shalt not steal. Well, if I love my neighbor, I'm not going to steal from them, right? If I love my neighbor, I'm not going to gossip and lie about them, right? And so that's what Jesus is saying. He's saying, hey, look, there are 616 laws. There's a lot of laws, but if you really want to boil it down, just love. Just get love right. You guys have heard me preach this over and over again. Get love right. Why do I preach that statement so often? Because we're not getting it right. And if we would get it right, we would revolutionize this city. Just this church, if this church, this body of believers, if we got love right, the impact would be felt throughout the city. selfishness would be crucified on the cross with Jesus, and love would be everything to us. We would be willing to give up whatever, however, whenever, so that people could know the Jesus that gave everything to set us free. Wow. And so when we look at this, we say, well, where does this come from? It comes from the Shema. Jesus is just quoting the Shema, which is in Deuteronomy 6. God gives this instruction to Moses, and he says, hey, tell the people, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Teach it to your children. Talk about it when you rise up and when you lie down, when you walk along the road. Write it on the doors of your house and on your forehead. Right? Just like, can you imagine walking around with that tattooed on your forehead? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I mean, it'd be like a Christian Post Malone. You know, you've got this right across here. Just whatever you want to do. But the idea is that if you walk that way, everywhere you walk, it's going to remind everybody you see that this is what we're supposed to live out. Right? This is what's supposed to identify me. And when you see me, the first thing I want you to see is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I love that in Acts chapter, I believe it's in Acts chapter 7, when the disciples go before the council at Jerusalem, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, and they reprimand them and they beat them. And the thing that they say is, what we could tell is that these men have been with Jesus. That's what I want people to see when they see you and me. When they come and hang out with us, I want them to go, man, I don't know much about these folks, but it's like they've been with Jesus, right? That's what I want people to say about us. They could say anything else in the world, but if we could get it to where we're doing love so well that people say, these guys have been with Jesus, boom. It would change things. It would change things. Turn over to John chapter 13. As you're turning there, I want you to think back to the Garden of Eden, right? When God creates Adam and Eve and he places them in a garden, he gives them a choice. Why does God give Adam and Eve? And again, I've heard people make this argument, that people that kind of hate the idea of God. By the way, if you want a definition for atheist, a definition of an atheist is somebody who says, there is no God, and I hate him, right? That's the definition of an atheist. If there's no God, why does he evoke so much emotion in you, right? Why are you so mad at him if he doesn't exist? And why are you so mad at Christians who believe in him if he doesn't exist? Who cares? Like, if anything, you should pity Christians, right? You should be like, oh, those poor dumb people, right? But you shouldn't be mad. And you certainly shouldn't be mad at God who doesn't exist, right? And so as we look at God placing Adam and Eve in the garden and giving them a choice, why does he give them a choice? Because he wants them to want to love him. The ethic that underlies the creation of humanity is love. Love is the highest ethic in the kingdom of God. And without choice, there can't be love. If I forced Mary to love me, it wouldn't be love at all, would it? At best, it would be ungenuine compliance that faked it, right? But that's not what God wants any more than that's what you want. You don't want anybody to fake that they love you. You want somebody that's crazy about you. You want somebody that sees the best in you and says the best in you is worth pursuing and the worst in you is worth strengthening. That's what we want, right? And so God gave us that choice, and so it's kind of the underlier. So when we look at all of the evidence in Scripture, the command of God to his people forever has been love. Love, 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 love. I want love from you. I want to love you. I want you to love others. That's been the idea that is underlying the creation of humanity and the message of the gospel. It's beautiful. So let's get to John chapter 13. Verse 33 says, "Dear children, I will be with you only a little longer. And as I told the Jewish leaders, you will search for me, but you can't come where I'm going." And so Jesus is kind of setting a stage here. Now listen to what he says. It says, "So now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other." To which we all would say, "That's not you, Jesus. That's been said a few times." That goes all the way back to the Shema when the Israelites were first delivered from slavery, and we've had it on our forehead for like 1,000 years. Jesus, this isn't new. But Jesus says, wait. This is the part that's new. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Well, now it's a little bit different because Matthew is in the group, and Jesus could say to Matthew, "Hey, Matthew, do you remember that first day when I met you and you were collecting taxes from people and extorting them for money? Do you remember that, Matthew? Well, what you don't know is that when we were walking close to you and I was trying to come and talk to you, Peter was in the background saying, 'Don't go over by him. I don't want anything to do with that clown. If we get too close, I'm going to spit on him. At the very least, I'm going to defile him so that he can't engage with other Jews.'" He says, "Remember that? That day, I didn't even ask you to change anything. I just said, 'Follow me.' Just as I have loved you, so you must love one another." Nathaniel, you remember when we first met? You remember that? It was so cool. And remember how you said, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" You remember that, Nathaniel? And do you remember how you pretty much slammed me and my family and all of my relatives who are from Nazareth? Remember that? That was cool, wasn't it? And I still invited you to be in my inner circle. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Judas, bro, don't even get me started. I can't even tell you all this stuff yet because you haven't even done all the stuff yet. But guess what? I knew what you were going to do, and I still invited you to the team. What? I put you in charge of the money, knowing who you are. What? Because love is the highest ethic. As I have loved you, Judas, as I have loved you, Nathaniel, as I have loved you, Thomas, as I have loved you, Peter, who will deny me 3 times, as I have loved you, everybody in Hope City, so you must love others. That's the kind of love Jesus is talking about. And listen to what he says, verse 35. "Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." Not by your bumper stickers, right? Not by your church attendance. Not by your knowledge of Scripture. You may kill it at Bible trivia, but nobody cares if you're not getting love right. Some of the people that I know that are the most knowledgeable about Scripture, can I just be transparent, are some of the meanest people I have ever met. Now, I am not telling you don't dig into Scripture. You guys know at this point, or should know, that I'm a Bible nerd. I love to study the Word. I love to increase knowledge of the Word. But don't ever let the Word of God that you know substitute the love of Jesus that you live. Right? Never. There is this new thing, and I'm blown away by how widely accepted it is. I'm not prone to block people or unfollow people on Facebook, right? Because I just generally don't care. I have a friend, though, I had to unfollow from Facebook because everything that he posts, it's very Christian-y. But it's all judgmental of everybody in the body of Christ. It's, you shouldn't listen to Bethel music because do you know that this one lyric says? Here was one, I literally watched a video the other day, and this guy, he's going, you guys know that song, You Are My Champion, giants fall when you stand undefeated, every battle you, and this guy does this 10-minute long video blowing up the song. And I'm like, okay, you are my champion. Yeah, that's definitely wrong. That's undefeated. No, there were all those times that you were defeated. Actually, never mind. Every battle you've won. Yeah, okay. I'm seated in heavenly places. Ephesians 2 says that verbatim. And then he goes, and then this is where he gets it. He says, when I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. He's like, this is a me-centered gospel. And I'm like, bro. Okay. First of all, have you read the Bible? Because every miracle that takes place in Scripture takes place because somebody says something. Lazarus, come forth. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, give I to thee. Get up, take your bed and walk. Man, if you don't open your mouth, no miracles will ever come out. Why do we hold poets to the accountability of theologians? Do you know that we could write off the Psalms pretty much if we were going just on 100% accurate theology? For real. Like, you have the inspired Word of God that gives descriptions of God, like things like, under his feathers I find refuge. Has God a bird? Does he have what? Like, I'm sorry, that verse is canceled. We can't do that anymore. But what we do is we're less concerned about this. This is how all men will know that you're my disciples. Not by how well you judge everybody. Not by how good your theology is. But that you love one another. Come on. The body of Christ can be one of the most cannibalistic entities in the world. Your theology doesn't line up with my theology, so I'm going to eat you and destroy you and make sure that everybody knows how wrong you are. Because do you know who's righter than me? Nobody. Not even Jesus. Because he says that this is how all men will know you're my disciples, that you have love one for another, but I have a different idea. Listen to how right I am. God help us. God help us to get love right. I was convicted the other day. Can we just go transparent mode here? You guys have heard real people, real hope, real life. I've told you guys, real pastor, okay? Like, I struggle with stuff. Sometimes, and I know this is going to sound goofy to you, but sometimes I get insecure about other churches and how great they're doing. And yesterday when I woke up, after I'd had my quiet time, I looked at Facebook and I saw a couple of things on Facebook, and I immediately started comparing myself to other pastors and other leaders. I'm like, what the heck? Right? Why? And so I felt the Lord so gently. I'm totally being sarcastic because it wasn't gentle at all. But he hits me with this. He says, Brad, if you're in competition with any other churches, you're building your kingdom, not my kingdom. So I'm just going to go sit down now because, but at what point, come on, how many of you guys feel that way, though, in your own life? You see what somebody else is doing, and you start to compare a little bit, and you say, man, I wish they weren't doing so awesome. I kind of wish I was doing awesomer than they are. Right? And you're like, Pastor, you don't even know proper grammar. Why did they give you a microphone? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? But here's what I know. Competition doesn't work, right? Comparison doesn't work. And the reality is that we're always, when we're on social media, we're always comparing everybody else's highlight reel to our fail videos, right? Like, because I know all the stuff that I'm screwing up every single day. You don't. God does. I do. My wife knows most of it. But here's the thing. I can't compare my fail videos to everybody else's highlight reel because I'm not in competition with them. I'm in a one-man race toward a finish line. And for the cause of Christ, we press forward in love, supporting the people around us and saying, man, I want to see you rise up. I want to see you accomplish great things because the kingdom of God needs your success. Right? Come on, that's where we got to live. Let's take off the lid. See, I'm just telling you, it's fail video, fail video, fail video. You guys post that on Facebook or Instagram right now. Pastor tried to drink it with the lid still on. Logan, don't make a video of this later, okay? Thank you. And then, now when we get down to verse 36, I love this. So Jesus is just, keep in mind, I'm just going to reread this so that you can hear Simon Peter's response in context. Verse 34 says, so now I am giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Simon Peter asked, Lord, where are you going? Simon, were you listening? Because I think you missed what I just said. Don't you love Simon? If anybody's got a fail video, it's Simon, right? Every time something goes wrong, it's coming out of Simon's mouth, right? But Simon is the guy that is not afraid to try it. He's not afraid to go all in. He's not afraid to step out of a boat, right? He gets it wrong as often as he gets it right. But when he gets it right, he gets it really right because he is so focused on like trying to get to Jesus. And so what he's referring to is verse 33 when Jesus says, dear children, I will be with you only a little longer. And as I told the Jewish leaders, you will search for me, but you can't come where I'm going. And then he moves on. He's like, so now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. And he's like, hey, I'm going away, but let me give you what you need in order to handle it when I'm gone. Right? You're going to need this when I'm gone. No, I'm going. You can't come where I'm going. And Peter got stuck there. He's like, wait, whoa. You on vacation, Lord? You got something rolling in Tahiti that we don't know about? Because, I mean, I know that there's not really any actual, like, cruises yet, but if you're going there, we want to go too. And he's still locked. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and they say something and you're trying to, like, when are they going to slow down enough for me to jump in with what I want to say about that? Come on, truth tellers. There's only 4 of you, really? Like, no. Come on. But like there's these times when we're listening and we're like listening, but somebody else has moved on from where we were. And I'm just trying to get back because I have something that I want to talk about over here, right? And you done moved on like 3 different topics, and I'm just trying to get back here, right? And that's where Peter is. He's like vapor locked on this moment. He's like, I just want to, where's he going? Okay, love, Jesus, that's not even a new commandment. Like, that's an old commandment. But where are you going? I love this. And so, the funny thing is that we do exactly the same thing that Peter did. Right? We're focused on all of this other stuff. Jesus is like, let me boil this down for you, right? Okay, guys, real close. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. This is how everybody's going to know you're my disciples. Right, Jesus, I get it. But we've got problems in our marriage. you listen? Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. If you do that, guess what? You won't have problems in your marriage. Wait. But you don't understand. I got some real world problems with my kids. And we need to talk about that, Jesus. Let's camp out around this. Love one another as I have loved you. If you got love right in your marriage relationship, if you got love right in your family relationship, if you got love right in your financial relationships, if you got love right in your work relationships, do you understand how this works? Things move forward. And you know, people say, well, I'm doing that, but you don't understand the people around me. Okay, real talk. I'm not getting love right all the time, guys. I'm trying for it. I blow it all the time. And do you know what? I tell you guys this all the time. I tell my kids this. My poor kids have heard this since they were like 3, right? It may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. I'm going to say that one more time because it's really important and it's really good. You could tweet it, you could Facebook it, you could Instagram it. But let me tell you this. It may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. You have a part to play. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody and it was 100% their fault? No, you haven't. Because if you argue back with them, you are complicit. Right? You're never that right that you could actually be in an argument and have no responsibility. You always have responsibility. And so if you're in conflict, if you're in struggle, you got to own the piece of the pie that belongs to you. And can I tell you something? If you can own it, you can bring peace to it. You can bring peace to it. And so as we look through this, we see all of these pieces. And I'm going to go back to it, just the last part, verse 36. It says, Simon Peter asked, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus replied, you can't go with me now, but you will follow me later. So the idea here is he's kind of answering Peter's question, but not, right? He's just saying, Peter, I just want you to understand, like, this is not the most important thing. You're not going with me now. You'll come later, but just not right now. Get this, though. Love people well. Get love right. Is it easy? No. No, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Do you know that sometimes our entitlement to be right is the biggest obstacle that we face? Our unforgiveness sometimes is our biggest obstacles. But can I tell you guys something? At some point, you have to give up your right to a better past. You can't have a better past. Your past is your past. It's over. You can have a better today. You can have a better today. You can't even have a better tomorrow because tomorrow's not come yet. But you can have a better today. And you can make decisions today that will influence your tomorrows and put you on a track to have better tomorrows. But it's rooted, it's founded, it's grounded in love. Now, 22 years later, after Jesus rises from the dead, Paul has written this book to the church at Colossae. So turn to Colossians chapter 3. Paul kind of amplifies what Jesus is talking about. And it's one of the things that the Apostle Paul had such a gift at doing, right? Is he would take something that Jesus spoke and exemplified, and he put it kind of in language where it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now, right? And so he takes this idea. In Colossians chapter 3, verse 12 says, since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Do you hear that language? What's he saying? He's saying, this is what it looks like to get love right, gang. You clothe yourself. Clothe yourself. Wear it. Own it. Because Paul has moved from a guy that literally hunted Christians and oversaw their killing, their murder. And then he has this encounter with Jesus where love all of a sudden becomes the absolute focal point of everything. And he says, boom, I have to do something different now. I have to change the way that I operate. And all of a sudden, what starts to grow out of his love for Jesus is everything begins to shift. The scripture says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. What that means is that if you really delight yourself in the Lord, love the Lord, position your thoughts toward him, all of a sudden the things that God wants, you'll start to want. Isn't that cool? That's how it works. That's why you can't rule and right and wrong yourself into a deeper relationship with Jesus. You have to love him, and everything else flows out of that. And so when we look at this, he says, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy. Another word for that is compassion. It's interesting because it's expressed in a very unique way in the Greek culture. They didn't use, we use in American culture, we say, I love you with all my what? Heart, right? It's the heart. I love you with all my heart. In Greek culture, they would have said, I love you with all of my bowels. It's not quite as romantic, is it? But that's what they would say. You ever been in a situation where you get that bad news and you feel it down in here? Right? You ever had that moment where you see somebody that you love so much and it's like, man, all of a sudden something right in here. I don't know what it is, but something right in here gets going. And so the Greeks thought that the center of your heart, will, and emotions was right here in your bowels. And so they said, I love you with all of my bowels. Oh, baby. You are so fine. You give me movement in here. You make my liver quiver. I don't know. Wait, I'm so far off track right now. I'll never forget when Mary and I were dating, and I went to give her a kiss goodnight when I was dropping her off at her house, and she goes, I don't kiss just like every guy. Like, I want to know that I'm the only one. Like, we're not doing this game. Now, if I hadn't turned over to her and said, girl, you got all my bowels, baby, it'd been game over, right? There would not have been a Dickey family. There would not have been a Grace, Daniel, and Abigail. It just wouldn't have happened, right? But that's the way. But so when Paul's communicating this idea, though, about compassion, sometimes it's difficult to express. It's kind of one of those things where, okay, sometimes we think compassion means just being nice to people all the time, no matter what they do. That's not always compassionate, right? Let me give you an example. As we've been raising our children, we work very hard to be compassionate with our kids all the time. Is it always easy? No. Is it important? Yes. So I remember when Daniel was about 6 years old, and he kept leaving his bicycle. When we lived in Richmond, we had this really long driveway, and he kept leaving his bicycle at the end of the driveway. In Baltimore, you couldn't do that because your bicycle would be gone. It wouldn't be a problem, right? You'd just be like, yep, I told you to put your bike away. Somebody else did it for you. They just put it in their garage, right? But in Richmond, you could leave a bike like at the end of your driveway for 7 years and nobody would do anything. Somebody might come wash it for you, but that was like it, right? They're like, oh, these tires look like they need some air, because every time you drive into the neighborhood, everybody's like, I'm like, I don't know you. Hi. It's like, I don't know where the Southern hospitality line stops. It's somewhere south of Baltimore, though, right? Somewhere south of Baltimore. So, but I kept telling Daniel, you got to bring your bike in. It's going to get run over if you leave it. Well, one day, sure enough, I ended up backing over his bike and destroyed it, like it mangled it. And Daniel comes out and he's like, Dad, my bike. And I said, you knucklehead, I told you. No, I didn't say that. What I did was, I said, buddy, I'm so sorry that happened. What a bummer. Doggone, man. I know that's upsetting. I didn't even see it. Daddy, will you buy me a new bike? No. But I'm really sad that happened. I'll give you some odd jobs where maybe you can make a little extra money and you can buy a bike. Maybe you could pick up some leaves in the neighborhood at 6 years old and earn money to buy a replacement bike. And you know what he did? Did that lack compassion to have him raise money to buy his own replacement bike? No, it absolutely was compassionate because I was empathizing with him where he was, right? Oh, it stinks to lose a bike. You're upset about it. I'm upset with you. That's horrible. Bummer. No, I'm not going to prop up your responsibility by buying you a replacement that you'll leave in the same exact place. What I will do is I'll help teach you the skills you need to make a mental shift so that you'll care for what you own in a better way and you won't find yourself in that position again. You see how this works? This is what compassion looks like in the body of Christ. It's loving, it's empathetic. We don't have to get mad at people for doing stupid things, right? Usually, if you do something stupid and you recognize it was stupid, you don't need somebody to kick your butt for it, right? You're like, I'm already kicking my butt. Go ahead. Heap it on. Be more angry. I deserve it. Right? How many of you ever feel that way? Like, it's just like, just go ahead. Take it to me. That's not generally helpful. You can be compassionate and be firm. Right? So, compassion, tenderhearted. And what Paul is suggesting here is clothe yourself with this. He's saying, I want you to feel naked if you're not compassionate. I want you to feel so self-conscious if you're not compassionate. I don't want you to be able to operate in that way and feel okay about it. It should make you feel strange not to be compassionate. And then he says, clothe yourselves with tenderhearted mercy, kindness. What is kindness? This is one of those things that sometimes can be a little bit difficult to get a handle on. The way that I like to define kindness is that kindness is loaning your strength to somebody else. Right? When you loan your strength to somebody else, it's such a powerful tool. It's interesting because I think many of us, we want a sure thing. We want things to always work out. And if we loan our strength to somebody else, what if it doesn't go well? Right? What if I loan my strength to somebody else and then they take advantage of me? Can I tell you a secret? Somebody will take advantage of you. They took advantage of Jesus. They took advantage of the disciples. They will take advantage of your kindness. It's okay. You're still going to make it. When I loan my strength to somebody and they don't respond well or they don't receive well, I've done what Jesus wants me to do. What else do I need? I've honored God with the strength that I have. I said, okay, Lord, you gave me the strength. I'll give it away. Oh, man, they stabbed me in the back. Dog it, that hurt. And the Lord says, I'll give you more strength. But if I hold on to it and I make it my strength, guess what? It only leads to problems for me. I always tell people, love hurts. Love hurts. And if you're not hurting, you're probably not loving right. Because it hurts. If somebody doesn't take advantage of you, probably not loving right. They're definitely not loving right, but you're probably not loving right either, right? And so there's this process by which we just say, hey, look, Jesus did something for me. And because he did, I owe you everything. That's the position that Jesus wants us to live in. Because I can never repay the debt that I owe Jesus. Never. So I'm indebted to you. Because of an act of Christ and my receiving the love of Christ and the reconciliation of Christ, now I have a responsibility to reconcile you to Christ. And so I have an obligation to you. So however you receive it, I don't know. Now, does that mean that you have to make yourself a doormat? Does that mean that you have to give everybody everything they want all the time? No, absolutely not. That's irresponsible. But we can lend our strength to others in the form of kindness, and it will go amazingly far. Let's look at the next piece here. He says, clothe yourselves with humility. Humility. I always use the definition, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less. Right? And another kind of definition that I think that we could use in this context would be seeing yourself as you really are in relation to God and others. Right? It's not about beating yourself up and hanging your head and acting like you're worthless. That's not humility. That's negatively reflecting the image of God, right? God made you. He purposed you. He created you as an image bearer. So don't you dare talk badly about yourself. Don't you dare put yourself down. You're God's son or daughter. I'll tell you right now, there are very few things that I get upset about, but I get upset when people go after my wife and kids. Somebody says something bad to my wife and kids, I take it personally, right? Think about it from the point of view of God. We're his bride. We're his kids. God is offended when you talk bad about yourself because you're sons and daughters, right? That's why racism is so awful, because it does violence to the image of God, right? And so as we look at this, man, walk with humility. Walk with humility. So here we go, and I'm trying to get through this quickly here, but we get to the next one is gentleness. Gentleness is simply deciding to respond to you in light of your strengths and weaknesses instead of mine. Right? It's easy to kind of just go to the, well, this is just who I am mode, right? Well, this is just how I am. Right? I respond angrily because that's just how I am. What if the toilet in my bathroom wasn't flushed and you came to my house to visit? I said, I'm sorry, it's just how it is. You come to my house, you just got to know this is just how it is. We're fine with it this way. We've been using it this way for years. What's your problem? Right? Like that's pretty out there. But that's what we're doing when we're like, well, it's just how I am. No, Jesus died so you don't have to be that way anymore. So stop making excuses for it and get love right. Right? We're going to respond in gentleness. I'm going to view you in light of your strengths and weaknesses instead of mine. This is so messy and so complicated. And it requires this crazy thing called knowing somebody and being interested in knowing people. That's why we're so interested in stories. Like if you talk to me for like 5 minutes and be like, so how are you? Where'd you grow up? How are things? What's your family like? What do you do? Right? I want to know you. People are like, golly, when are you going to get out the spotlight and put it on my face? Am I facing charges here? What's the deal? No, I just want to know you. Your story is important to me because it's you. It's the power of this thing. Then the next thing, since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tenderhearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and... Can we just pause for a second on this one? Now, I know I'm probably the only person in the room that struggles with patience. But I struggle with patience sometimes, right? Clothe yourself with patience. I mean, if you're wondering what patience is, have you ever been hiking with a 9-year-old? How about a 3-year-old? If you want to know what patience means, go hiking with a 3-year-old. Right? You cannot have a goal in mind. You just got to be on a journey, right? You're just like, all right, yep, no, that's another buttercup. You're right. Yep, that is a butterfly. Yep, looks just like the one we saw there like 2 minutes ago. Wild onions, you're right. Those are wild onions. Can we just no, there's this whole path, and up there's a waterfall. Yep, there's a squirrel there too. We're never getting to the waterfall. Never getting to the waterfall. Right? There's this part of patience where we've got to look at, like, we've got to get over our agenda in order to be patient, right? We've got to realize that we're not the center of the universe if we're going to be patient. I think most of my impatience is founded in the fact that I have things that I want and you're not facilitating it, so I'm impatient with you. Right? But if I get love right, that ceases to be an issue, doesn't it? But I get annoyed, especially the more tired I am or the more stressed I am. I get annoyed with people. Like people that Jesus died for, I get annoyed by. Like, if anybody could be annoyed, like Jesus could be annoyed with me. Right? He's like, Dickie, dude, you preach about this stuff. What in the world? Why don't you do that? Right? He's like, you know, why? And so this is kind of where we have to position ourselves. And we really, the thing to keep in mind is that patience is kind of the outflow of love, and Jesus loved us to the point of death. How much more should we love each other and be patient with each other? And so when I think about all of the things that we get frustrated about, it really kind of pales in comparison to what Jesus overcame so that you could experience the forgiveness that comes with the cross. And so here we go. Let's read verse 14. This is kind of be our last stop. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. If I'm honest, when I look at this list, it's kind of like, man, that sounds great on paper, and if all I did was play with preschoolers all day, this would be great, right? But I have a job. Maybe your job is playing with preschoolers. That's a different thing, though, okay? That's a whole nother layer of love and everything that's required. I'm just saying, like, if you're like, all I have to do today is just pick flowers and sit by the stream. But I have kids. I have teenagers. I have, right? Whatever your situation is, I've got a boss who is an absolute dork. Don't even know how he got that job. Levi, stop looking at CJ like that. Okay? Not even cool. Can I tell you a secret now? Paul is writing these things that we're still preaching about today. 2,000 years from now, nobody's going to be talking about your quotes. But we're still talking about this. Why? Because it works. It works. It's life-giving. It's life-altering. I'm going to invite our worship team to come up. I think the problem with a message like this is that sometimes we're like, oh, okay, that was cool. What do I do with that? Right? What do I do with this? Guys, there is nothing more important than getting this one right. Nothing. This is everything. This is the Christian life distilled. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. That's the upside-down kingdom. I love what Martin Luther King Jr. says, hate is too great a burden to bear. I choose love. Right? And throughout history and even in our modern times, we see people trying to fight battles with hate. And what's it end up with? More hate. More injustice. More anger. More death. More pain. It's not the way that we fight our battles as followers of Jesus. We love. We take one for our enemies. Matter of fact, Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, hey, it's easy to love your neighbor. Love your enemy. What? It's a whole nother level, Jesus. And he starts his ministry with that one. Later he comes along with, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. But he starts with love your enemy. How upside down is that? We don't have categories for that. But Jesus, while we were still his enemies, died for us. Like you were an enemy of God. He said, oh man, the only casualty in this war between him and me is going to be me. Jesus became the casualty, the lone casualty in the war of loving you. What do we owe him? Everything. Everything. I want us right now to take just a few minutes to respond. Whatever God's been speaking to you in these moments, would you just respond? We're going to open the altars up and we'll have people available to pray. But would you just respond? Move. There's something that happens when you move. When you're sitting in your seat and you're comfortable and nobody's really paying attention, it's like, But when you put action to it and you say, Lord, teach me to get love right. And you walk up front in front of everybody and you make this declaration to God. And you say, Lord, I'm here because I want to get it right. Something happens inside you. There's strength and movement. Would you make the first step on this thing? Just say, God, I'm all in. I want to do it. Levi and our team leads us. Would you just take some action this morning? Ask God to help you.